viewing the execution of one of our elite Axia traders over a comment which actually came out yesterday afternoon. We'll be looking at how he executed in the Bunds, the Euro and the Dax. And it's all based around this theme in Turkey at the moment, the Turkish crisis that's going on and the kind of risk off we've seen across the board, and a comment which gives some temporary relief to that. So just something to mention for those of you that have been trading for the past couple of days. You'll notice that the markets have been pretty sensitive to any new information that's come out, any tweets from Trump or comments from Erdogan, the president of Turkey, or any comments revolving around the pasta that's being held by Turkey and US's kind of refusal to negotiate until he is released and that is settled. So this was a bit of new information that came out which we hadn't actually seen any commentary on, and it occurred at 10 past 4, 8 minutes past 4 on Wednesday the 15th of August. So we can see the Reuters headline up here. Qatar Emiri says to make direct investment worth 15 billion in Turkey, and it's come out of Erdogan's office as well. So it was a comment that came out which is positive for the lira, is positive for Turkey, but traders in the office didn't really view this as something huge, but it's more as the correlated markets come into play and start to move, it can give you more kind of conviction in the trade, or at least the fact that there's been risk off throughout the afternoon, you could potentially have a real quick unwind, and as the market then digests the information that it's received, it can then reverse that move and kind of gives you two opportunities to trade: the initial move and then potentially the fade, or the fade on one of the lagging markets if everything else comes back into balance and there's one market that's left. So we're going to look, just want to quickly show you, this is the dollar lira chart, and we've been trading in this kind of wedge for a couple of hours, just moving down and down, and we've seen some real good positive correlation between the dollar lira, so inverse correlation with the lira, but the dollar lira and the Bund. So as the dollar lira has been trading down or breaking down, we've been looking to sell the Bunds, and equally we've had that inverse correlation from the dollar lira with the euro. As dollars are being sold, that's going to put a bid in the euro. So the main markets that we're looking for, and when we see a reaction in the lira, for us we're looking at trading the Bunds, the euro, and then potentially European equities, DAX or euro stocks as well, which at this time can be quite good go-to markets for risk on, risk off moves. So this candle here shows the initial move, and then we'll also see the retracement back up of the lira, and everything kind of revolves around this. This is what we're using as our proxy for the trades. We don't want to be staying in a trade which is based on the lira going down if it's bounced. We've got a real good indicator to use here, so we're just going to see how this trader executes and uses that to his advantage. So if you bear with me as I just switch to the ladders. So just looking here, we've got our Bunds, we have our euro, and we have DAX, which I think comes in here, but I will check as he executes. But just want to pay attention to what he executes in first. So the comments come out. The first market that he's hit into is the euro. So he's hit 30 lots into the euro and hasn't actually been as aggressive as he would usually be in the Bunds. Those of you that watch these execution reviews regularly will see that this trader, he likes to hit with size at market in the Bunds, but he actually didn't get filled, and he said that because he didn't really have high conviction in the comment to offer a sustained move in the market. So it's really getting in the euros. He wants to see the euro go on side, and then maybe he'll look to be more aggressive in the bunds. So he's missed his fill in the bunds, it offers over, and he eventually hits that market, I think around 74s. So euro's going on side, and he gets in with another 80 lots, so he's up to 160 lots short in the bunds, and long 60 lots he's added into his euro position as well. So what's going through his mind is, you know, when the market's like this, you can have a fast unwind of the risk off. So you can have 1 to 2 minutes of risk on a comment, followed by the reversal. So he wants to look at the lira, and he's watching as the lira is coming off. As long as that's still coming off and holding, and the euro is still moving up, he's happy to stay in his positions. So he's going to start deploying his usual execution style of in with size and then getting out with small size. The fact that the bunds have been drifting up, were quite towards the high throughout the afternoon, he felt that they could come off quite a bit. So he wasn't actually that aggressive getting out of his bunds relative to his euro. Just stopping here. So at this point, he's scaled out from 60 euros to only 21 lots. So he's out 2/3 of his size there, whereas in the bunds, I think he was up to 160 lots, and he's only scaled out of maybe 10% of those. So you're seeing that as the euro's moving, he's actually expecting, he's thinking, you know, the bund's not actually moved that much yet. So there could be, you know, this could hold for a little bit and then be a real splashdown and another move. But the next thing he's looking at now is the DAX. So the euro's gone, what's that, from 51s up to 64s, and he's building. So let's say it's gone 15 ticks, maybe more. Bunds have come off 7 or 8 ticks, and the DAX, he quickly checked to his charts and noticed that the DAX hadn't actually gone that far. So at this point, he's still hungry for other markets within this correlated structure that he can look to play. So he's deploying only a small amount of size in the DAX, but that's because he's hitting it later. He never wants to get over aggressive when, you know, his edge is the fact that he's quick to market on these comments. And also, you know, the DAX can be quite aggressive in a reversal and it could move against you. So you kind of want best price, or maybe not to get in with too much size. So we're seeing euro continuing to push up and still being quite conservative with how he's scaling out of his bunds. Euro's still pushing higher, and actually at this point, you know, his DAX is going on side, and he's starting to think, Euro's pushing quite far, and still Bund has only gone 5 ticks, so he still thinks there might be that second splash. But as euro starts to come off, which correlates, as I said, exactly with the dollar lira, as it's essentially dollars are being traded, so as the dollar lira sells off, the euro dollar is going to push higher. So I just want to show you quickly on this chart whereabouts we are right now. So this is what would be, say, a 1 minute chart of this move. So, and this is the dollar lira. So the dollar lira came down, and at this point we're around in this section. So as soon as he starts to see this dollar lira start to bounce, you know, he's starting to think, right, what markets should I starting to get out of more aggressively, and is there an opportunity to fade this move? You know, I don't think this is a huge comment, short-term relief to the market. The issues are still there with Turkey. 15 billion, although it sounds large, it's not a huge amount, and it's come direct from the president's office, so you never know, this could be denied at any point. So continue to watch. He's scaling out now. He's down to only 10 lots in euro. And he actually said he felt like he probably could have scaled out a bit quicker with the bunds. The fact that it wasn't going, you know, he thought that maybe there would be that second splash. But when he wasn't getting the response he wanted and the dollar lira started to bounce higher, you know, that was a time that he could have probably started executing out of these a bit quicker. I think the lowest price that it got to was around 67, 66. So he hasn't done badly, but the fact that he had such a lot of size on potentially could have scaled out a little bit better, just a few ticks lower. This is really him nitpicking at his execution when talking it through with me. So now I just want you to pay attention to, he's out of most of his euros, but pay attention to this DAX position. Okay, so he's covered his DAX and his euros pretty much got nothing in there. Bund is getting is coming down. I'm just going to take you back to that Lira chart in a second. So Euro's now holding. It's not really going anywhere any further. Bund is coming back towards the price still of where it opened. DAX is actually still pushing a little bit higher, but Euro's really struggling around this area. You can see some really big offers coming in. You can see, so just watching here for where this turns. He's got a BTP position in as well, where he's shorting the BTP, but not really the focus of this move. But just going to wait just as this move starts to come towards its end. Just want to show you how he looks to fade this market. Just going to fast forward a little bit. Okay, so I just want to go quickly back. So at this point, we're around this sort of area. So the Lira's retraced most of its move. The Euro accordingly has come back and it's pretty much towards his average entry price of the initial move. Bund is coming back. I mean, it's still 4 to 5 ticks below where it started, but not showing any signs of a real splashdown. But DAX is still towards the highs of the move. And this is where this trader managed to notice that the one market that hasn't really reversed its move was the DAX. So we should see shortly. Here we go. So he's now short the DAX, only 5 lots, but you know, he never wants to be executing with as much size on the secondary move as he would be doing on the initial move. So, you know, this is just to bump up and boost his earnings from the overall trade and to take a little bit more out. So we just watch as eventually Euro's back to its opening price. You know, he's confident that DAX should also retrace the move as well. And Bund hasn't really done much for the past few minutes. So he's actually scaling a little bit more into his DAX position as we see all this size here in the Euro on the offer. And the DAX starts to come off. And I think he trades this out. I'm not sure how far it goes, but it's not a huge part of the move, but I just thought it was quite interesting to show you how you can pick the one market that is still overextended when all others have retraced and take advantage of that in the secondary phase of the move.